What's going on, Arkansas Razorback fans, SEC fans, and of course college basketball fans everywhere? We're talking about the Arkansas Razorbacks beating the Texas Longhorns 77-74. But before we get into that, if you could at the end of the video, like, comment, share the content that you're watching. Of course, if you haven't already, feel free to tap that awesome subscribe button down below. For Arkansas fans, it just goes without saying, beating Texas at anything. Football, basketball, baseball, dodgeball, paintball, tag. Arkansas beating Texas is a good thing for Hog fans and for the university. It's just a good thing. And this is a big win, too, because you keep that momentum going. You keep that win streak going. You're going to be able to put more butts in seats at Bud Walton. I mean, you just beat an old rival away from Bud Walton. So they're starting to show glimpses. Even though Texas isn't a great basketball team, I get it. But you more or less played them at home. I mean, just face it, that was a home game for Texas, even though there weren't a lot of people there. I mean, what'd you expect? Arkansas playing Texas this year, not exactly the matchup of the year, right? I mean, these are two teams that Arkansas in recent history, not so great. Texas this year, definitely not off to a good start. So you didn't expect a lot of people there. But the people that were there were most certainly there for the Longhorns. So this is a big game, big win for a lot of different reasons. It's going to keep that momentum going into their next game. They're going to play North Dakota State December 20th at 6 p.m. at Bud Walton. So be a pretty decent game to catch. And after that, they're going to play Sam Houston State, and then they're going to host Florida December 29th, which will be, I think they moved that to 8 p.m. So keep this momentum going. Keep the win streak going into the Florida game. You could be talking about a really fun game between Arkansas and Florida. I think no matter what happens between these two teams going forward from here until they play each other, it's going to be a good matchup. But Arkansas, despite playing poorly for the most part, sloppy game, didn't and you got to give Texas a lot of credit for that. They found a way to kind of disrupt what Arkansas does well, and I really believe that Moses Kingsley had a not-so-great game as far as scoring, but then he found another way to become relevant. He had 5 blocks, 10 rebounds, and ended up with 7 points. He was close to a double-double. So it ended up being a pretty good night for Moses, even though the first half he looked kind of lost. And I've mentioned that here before. But, big win. More butts and seats, hopefully, after this game at Bud Walton. So let's go into the individual stats really quick, and we'll talk about why, obviously, we think Arkansas won this game, right? Macon would lead the way. This guy was incredible tonight from the free throw line, 14 of 14. That goes with what I'm going to talk about here in a minute. But he ended the night with 23 points. Barford, who, I'm telling you, the guy, I know he logged 26 minutes. I want to see him more at like 28, 30 minutes a game. I'm starting to like more and more what I see from him. He's had some up and down games this year, but still ended up with 11 points, had a couple of key, he drove the lane a couple of times, really forced Texas on their heels a little bit. Next up would be Watkins with 6 points, Kingsley with 7, and then Watkins with 6. On the bench, Dusty Hannas, once again, double digit, 15 points. Even grabbed a couple of steals. Had a good night, from 3-point range, not a bad night either. He was the best Hog, no surprise there, 3 of 6. So from the field, the Razorbacks shot at 35%. 3-point range, they shot at 25%. And we're talking a second ago about finding ways to win and why we think the Hogs won. Obviously, it was from the 3-point, or from the, not from the 3-point range, from the free throw line. They shot 93%. 29 of 31 shots. That's awesome. 93%. That's almost 94. They're all right at about 94% shooting at the free throw line. Macon 14 of 14. Barford 3 for 3. Kingsley 3 for 3. Hanna's missed one, which was very unlike him. 2 of 3. Cook 4 of 4. Beard 2 of 2. Thompson 1 of 2. I mean, they found a way to win tonight. And that's what's really important, is when you're not playing at your full potential in certain areas where you have been all year, it's important that you find another way to win a game like this away from home, and they did, and that's huge. You got to give Texas a lot of credit tonight. They played. Now, I haven't watched them a lot, but I was reading online, some of their fans were saying on social media, on Twitter and Facebook, or on Twitter, not on Facebook, saying that Texas probably played one of their better games, from a physical standpoint that they've played all year. And it showed. Arkansas was getting beat up pretty bad on the inside. But again, the Razorbacks found a way to match that physicality, played their own brand of basketball in the second half, and was able to come away with the win. So again, it's important that the Hogs ride this win streak going into the Florida game, gather some momentum. There's going to be a lot of people at that game, regardless of what happens again. Throughout the next couple of games, it doesn't matter. There's going to be a lot of people for that game. But imagine if Arkansas goes into that game with just one loss and Florida stays where they're at, which I think is at 3 losses. That game will certainly tell the Razorbacks quite a bit more about themselves. So as it stands right now, Arkansas's in a 3-way tie for the best record in the SEC with Kentucky and South Carolina. All 3 teams, including Arkansas, are 9-1. Auburn and Florida are right behind you. But those 3 teams, Arkansas, Kentucky, and South Carolina, are leading the way. So far, we'll see how things go when they get into conference play. Obviously, you're going to expect some pretty big changes as you get into conference play and getting into the middle of the season and everything. A lot of changes, I'm sure. But as it stands right now, Arkansas is off to a pretty good start through their first 10 games. So, all right, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw here. Remember to like, comment, share the content. And if you haven't already, feel free to tap the subscribe button down below. Till the next video. Peace.